So what's a parable? In the Jewish culture and the Jewish religion, they were important to the Jewish people. And if you look back, one of the most powerful parables that we look at is when the prophet goes to David the king and says, hey, this rich guy had all his sheep and livestock and whatever, but the poor neighbor, he only had one sheep and he loved that sheep and it was his pet and that sheep lived in the house with him. But then the rich guy went to the neighbor's house. He took the neighbor's most prized pet and he killed him and fed his guest with it. And David, the king, was outraged. How could this happen? Who is the man? You tell me who the man is. I'm going to show him a thing or two. And what happens? The prophet says, you're the man. You stole Uriah's wife and you had him killed. That's a parable. That's the way that people speak to power. They confront the powers that be, but they can't do it directly because the powers that be get real defensive. You make them agree with you and then you turn it on them. And that's what a parable was. That's a parable. A parable isn't, well, here's this spiritual truth and we're just going to use animals and pets and nice little things so you can understand what's really true spiritually, but it has nothing to do with real life. That's not what a parable is. But that's the way we made parables, mainly because we don't want to actually listen to it. So with that in mind, we're going to start Matthew 20. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to talk to you about it real quick. For the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder, and he went out early in the morning to hire laborers to work in his vineyard. And when he had agreed with all the laborers to pay them a day's wage, he sent them out to the vineyard. And then he went out at the third hour. And people were still standing, waiting to get hired. So he says, well, come on in. I'll take you. And at the end of the day, I'll pay you what's fair. And then a couple hours later, he did it again. And then a couple hours later, he did it again until the day's almost over. There's only an hour left in the day. I'm paraphrasing real quick here. And he said, why are you here? Why are you still here? There's only an hour left to the day. And they said, sir, because nobody hired us. And so he said, well, you go work in my vineyard and I'll pay you what's fair. So then we come to the end of the day. When evening had come, the Lord of the vineyard says to his steward, bring all the laborers in and give them what they are to be paid. And when they came, the ones that were hired the 11th hour received a day's wage. They went down the list and the people that had been there all day, they were paid a day's wage. And they got all upset. Hey, you paid them the same as you paid me. How is that fair? I worked all day long and this guy shows up for an hour and you pay him the same. That's not fair. Well, the landowner says, hey, I told you I'd pay you a day's wage and I did pay you a day's wage. What's the problem? I decided to be generous and pay these people the same as I paid you. Isn't it my money? Can't I pay people whatever I want? Why are you jealous? What we've done in Christianity is we've taken that parable and we've turned it into a spiritual thing. It's not talking about labor. It's not talking about workers. It's not talking about worker exploitation. It's not talking about economy. What's it talking about? Oh, it's talking about your reward going to heaven when you die. That's what it's talking about. That's what it's really talking about. And what it's saying is, it doesn't matter if you become a Christian when you're a kid and you live with Christ your whole life, or if at the very end of your life, minutes before death, you say, Lord, forgive me, and then boom, you get to go to heaven. That's what we've made it into. It's got nothing to do with what Jesus was saying. That whole thing is ridiculous. What this passage is saying is that in God's kingdom, economy is going to work differently. In God's kingdom, we're going to look at the practices of our employees and employers, and we're going to change things a little bit. Okay, so that's what it said. So how do I do that in my life today, Rev? If you were to go to Home Depot and say, hey man, I got some work to do in the backyard at my house. I'll pay you $150 a day. I need 3 people. Well, who are you gonna pick? This guy speaks English, I'm gonna pick him. This guy looks strong, I'm gonna pick him. And this guy over here, he's got so much energy, you can just tell that guy's gonna work his butt off all day long. I'm gonna pick him. Well, not Not as much as getting done as you want to. You need some more help. You go back to Home Depot and there's still a crowd of people there. But they've been rejected for 2 hours. And you go back and you go back and you go back. And when the day's almost over, who's left? People that have stayed there wanting to participate in the economy of their family, wanting to give their kids food. They've been standing there all day long and nobody hired them. Why? Maybe they don't speak English. Maybe the guy's really overweight. Maybe a guy's really skinny or old or any other reason why you would go, I don't know about that guy. In Home Depot, you might not want to hire the white guy who's covered in tattoos because why is he there? He's probably, on drugs. You make decisions and you reject people all day long. And these people are the rejects. They've been sitting there wanting to do something for their family, but nobody hired them. They were judged and found unworthy, yet they stayed there all day waiting for someone. You know what? There's only an hour left in the day, but if I worked for an hour, maybe I could buy a small thing of rice for my family. People that were rejected over and over and over again. The sick, the lame, the overweight, the foreigners who can't speak English, the people that seem to be not really all that extroverted, whatever it is, they get rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected. And Jesus is saying, this world of economy that says only if you are good for me, only if you're going to help me, only if you're going to make me money, only if you're valuable, only then will I let you feed your family. Yeah. That's not the kingdom of God. In the kingdom of God, there's justice, even for the people that don't fit in, even for the people that are rejected. Jesus is telling us a story that confronts the economic powers of the day. He's telling us a story about economic justice, justice for the workers. Jesus, throughout his whole ministry, sings an anti-oppression song. And this is a beautiful verse. That if we understand it as a parable and not as some nice spiritual story, maybe, just maybe, we can begin to work towards this kingdom of heaven that Jesus said is already here and make this world a better place. So anyways, this is John. If you want to watch more stories or more Bible studies, please go to my YouTube channel at John the Rev Jensen. I just love for you to comment, to argue with me, whatever. Just go to YouTube, have some fun on my channel, share it, press the follow button, press the like button. This is good stuff. At least I think so. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you understood it in a different way, at least, than you have before. Rev loves you.